The man is of no real use to anyone else, and my daughters do so love entertaining foreigners. Furthermore, I can assure you if you entrust the mortal to House Dimitrescu, my daughters and I shall deliver to you the finest.
Way ugly! I want to see! He's awake!
Brother, shut the fuck up!
What? Where?
You mean you'll screw around with him in private, and where's the fun in that?
Resident Evil has a long and storied history that's as diverse as the games themselves. It laid the foundation for what was to be survival horror during the PlayStation 1 era, a genre that would get copied ad nauseum for as long as people would pay for them. And for the longest time, Resident Evil reigned supreme. The original, chock full of moments that withstood the test of time, still endears, if only to soothe the wounds caused by some of the later, less entertaining and performative games. Resident Evil is at its best when it deviates from its own design. Trading fixed camera angles and take controls for a third-person camera and over-the-shoulder combat mechanics, Resident Evil 4 would earn critical accolades for its fresh approach. Resident Evil 5 and 6 would greatly underperform despite trying to include 4's popular elements and fan-favorite characters. Anything else was relegated to many of the franchise's lesser-known offshoots, and, well, history has chosen to forget most of those. Resident Evil 7 served as another unique turning point for the series. Switching the camera again, 7 played entirely from the first-person perspective of a new protagonist named Ethan Winters, a regular Joe with no military background or connection to Umbrella or Raccoon City. In a great many ways, Resident Evil 7 harkened back to the moody, psychological meets visceral horror of Konami's Silent Hill, as Ethan's misadventures took him to a forgotten, dilapidated swath of land in Louisiana that was quietly taken over by a new biological threat. Like James Sunderland, Ethan's wife had gone missing for years, only to suddenly reach out to him, a dramatic act that puts Ethan and the player smack dab in the middle of a violent nightmare involving a backwater family grown so twisted and evil by a mysterious mold that Ethan faced life or death at every corner. Resident Evil Village continues Ethan's story in an adventure that smartly builds on what made the last game so great while implementing a world design that never goes stale. Taking place a few years after the end of Resident Evil 7, Ethan and his wife Mia have moved to an undisclosed location in Europe, where they build a life together with their newborn child, Rose. Their seemingly idyllic life is quickly upended when their house is attacked by none other than Chris Redfield, who shoots and kills Mia without so much as a, "Hey, can I stay for dinner?" Rose is taken away while Ethan is knocked out and dragged away, only to wake up sometime later to find his body lying at rest near the wreckage of an overturned vehicle. Ethan stumbles his way through a truly creepy forest in which dead crows hang lifelessly from branches and wire, and comes across a small, quaint village that suffers attacks from honest-to-God werewolves. After miraculously surviving the assault, Ethan is left dazed, confused, and missing 2 fingers as he begins his search for Rose and to uncover the wild secrets locked behind a cursed land that is home to a fantastic cast of oddball characters this franchise has ever seen. And for Resident Evil, that's saying a lot. Instead of suffering through the confines of a ruined house and saw-like torture gauntlets, Village takes an open-world approach that is absolutely sublime. Borrowing the flavor of Metroid's structure of exploration, Village leads the player through specific paths so that they may find the necessary tools or equipment to open up new areas. This came as a complete surprise given the game's marketing towards release, which focused primarily on vampire mom Lady Dimitrescu and her lavish palace. What I thought was to be a next-gen retread of another palatial mansion setting actually turned out to be something much bigger and exciting, as Ethan must travel to 4 different areas surrounding the village to piece together a disquieting MacGuffin. And these areas are completely different from each other, both in style and substance. Not only does that ensure surprises around each corner, but it makes the game so much harder to put down because you'll be driven to find out what happens next. Telling you about them would be ruining the surprise, which is why I've only included footage of the game's first major area in this video.
Hey! What the? Shit!
Ethan's abilities haven't changed much from the previous game. You'll explore the village from his point of view and collect items, solve puzzles, and shoot enemies. He'll find weapons and ammo in the field, but a new crafting mechanic allows him to create supplies on the go, so long as he has the right materials. These components are few and far between, as is the nature of survival horror games, but finding the time to explore off the beaten path usually yields extra handfuls of trinkets and trash that can be combined to create ammunition, health kits, and explosive ordnance like grenades and landmines. The supplies you find never feel enough, given that Village has a tendency to lean towards Resident Evil 4's method of action, which is one of the more significant departures from the previous game. You'll be using guns a lot more often this time, and the action-leaning design can be attributed to the game's producer, who felt that a lot of people found the game too scary to play. And it was. Exploring the house was scary enough, but trying to do it with a PlayStation VR headset was simply too much. The tonal shift for Village is noticeable and welcome, with enough material to keep you on the edge of your seat while tossing in morsels of dark humor to break the tension. If Resident Evil 7 can be likened to the original Evil Dead, then Village would easily be Evil Dead 2. Spooky and unnerving, but also darkly hilarious. Ethan himself comes off as a bizarre doofus in the sequel, someone who is confronted with truly awful and horrible experiences, but kind of shrugs them off as if he's used to seeing this sort of thing. I have too few complaints to air about Resident Evil Village. It really is a phenomenal experience that ups the ante on the new direction Capcom has taken with their long-running video game series. If I had to nitpick something, it's funny how Village eventually lockstep with games of the past by presenting a final act that throws all tension and atmosphere out the window to such a degree that it becomes a first-person shooter. However, given how much you'll struggle against the enemy, this also serves as a blissful moment of catharsis. Resident Evil Village may not be as scary as Resident Evil 7, but it is nonetheless a moody, atmospheric theme park that is a joy to explore. It never fails to keep the player engaged with great content and level design that never outstays its welcome. This makes it all the more difficult to put down, even after you've completed the story. Village's New Game Plus system is awesome, as it lets you unlock special bonuses like infinite ammo and new weapons using points earned for in-game accomplishments, on top of letting you restart with all the equipment that you had at the end of the first playthrough. It may be a little too early to call it, but right now, I'm feeling that Resident Evil Village is a strong contender for Game of the Year.
You are so kind to me, daughters. Now, let's take a look at him. Well, Ethan Winters. You escaped my little brother's idiot games, did you? Let's see how special you are.
Yes, Mother.
Yes, Mother. Starting to go a little stale.
Then let's devour his man flesh quickly, Mother.
I am the one who captured him.
Now, daughters. First, I must inform Mother Miranda